Even Harvard graduates can't get a job. Every year, Ivy League business school graduates flood the job market, landing what should be top-paying positions. 20-something MBAs start at a median base salary of $175,000, almost twice what an average household earns. But those golden prospects are disappearing fast. At Harvard Business School, 23% of the class of 2024 were still job hunting 3 months after graduation. That is up from only 10% in 2022. And it's not just Harvard. At Chicago and Northwestern, unemployment among graduates has tripled. The system they trained to run has failed them. Across corporate America, employers are recruiting fewer of these so-called future business leaders. Boards and investors are pushing these cuts to boost profits. But when they talk about costs, they often mean people's livelihoods. To the public and to employees, they offer a number of reasons: the economy, efficiency, market changes, plenty of excuses. But the truth is far simpler and far more concerning. It's not just management that's feeling the pinch. By late 2024, hiring in the information industry had dropped 30% compared to pre-pandemic levels. Finance was down 28%, while software development, data science, and marketing posted 20% fewer job openings. Across America, jobs are disappearing. Unemployment has climbed to 4.4%, the highest it's been since 2021. Now, a new tool threatens to destroy even more jobs. Artificial intelligence is transforming work. Anthropic says its software is capable of automating or assisting with 75% of computer programming tasks and 65% of marketing tasks. On top of that, it's taking over management and administrative jobs. These are two of the biggest sources of work in America. That is 1 in 5 jobs being threatened by software. If you listen to the people drumming up hype for AI, things are only going to get worse. But the hype doesn't match reality. Researchers at Yale found no job disruption from AI in the first 3 years of ChatGPT. Even Anthropic found that its technology isn't affecting employment. Technology takes decades to change.
Imagine being able to build anything just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44.
A workforce, not years or even months. So what is really going on? People already in AI vulnerable roles aren't losing more jobs, hours, or wages than anyone else. But things are different for new graduates. For workers in their early 20s, job opportunities in AI vulnerable occupations have fallen by 14% since ChatGPT arrived in 2022. People aren't being laid off, but finding a new job has never been harder. AI is changing the job market, and at the same time, it isn't. If that sounds confusing, you're not alone. The answer lies in the sectors where AI is applied. Management, administration, and the arts were already changing before this technology arrived. AI has become a convenient excuse for layoffs. It's easier to blame job losses on software than it is to admit that these decisions were made by managers chasing bigger profits. Talking up the importance of AI also sends a signal to investors. A handful of AI-oriented tech companies have driven 75% of growth in the returns on S&P 500 stocks over the past few years. By tying themselves to the AI trend, companies send a signal that they're worth investing in, even if AI isn't really changing their workforce. As a result, tech companies are praised for creating jobs, when really they're destroying them. Cutting staff is a quick route to short-term savings. Meta plans to lay off 20% of its workers, even as it's spending $600 billion in data centers. Job posts on Indeed for software development have fallen by 30% since the pandemic. The appeal of tech careers has added to the problem. The number of students graduating in computer and information science doubled between 2012 and 2021. That's enough graduates in a year to pack out Ohio Stadium. That means more graduates competing for fewer jobs, alongside experienced competitors. CEOs have led us to believe that jobs in computing and management could keep growing forever. Infinite growth is impossible, and that reality is now catching up. Yet, schools and training programs haven't adjusted the skills they're teaching. This has changed how people view education. 63% of registered voters believe that a college degree isn't worth the cost, up from 40% only 13 years ago. At first glance, this doesn't add up. Someone with a bachelor's degree earns $300 more per week than average. Someone with a professional degree or a doctorate earns $1,000 more. Not only do graduates earn $1.2 million more over their career, they're also less likely to be unemployed. But rising costs mean that many graduates no longer feel the benefit. Extra money is useless if you spend it all paying off your loans. The impact of cost cutting by business leaders is being felt across the economy. Employment has been falling since the start of the 21st century. Almost 65% of men and 55% of women are now employed. The only times things have been worse were the great financial crash and the COVID pandemic. This employment gap comes from a simple but harsh combination: more firing and less hiring, as business leaders push to keep wage bills down. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, businesses made 1.5 million fewer hires in 2025. Meanwhile, layoffs and discharges rose by 1.2 million. To put that into perspective, it's like the entire population of Montana was unexpectedly laid off. And the problem is getting bigger. With fewer companies hiring, unemployment has become a trap. The number of people out of work for more than 6 months has risen by over 50%. The average manager takes 6 months to find a new job, a month longer than 3 years ago. The number of jobs advertised per unemployed worker has halved since early 2022. There are fewer opportunities to go around. Healthcare has long been a growth sector. An aging population, better diagnosis of disease, and new technologies have increased both the demand and supply. More nursing staff are needed than ever before. It seemed like an industry that would keep growing, creating 57,000 jobs per month in 2024. That all changed in 2025. Average monthly recruitment fell to 33,000. That is 18 entire hospitals worth of staff not being recruited every month. Profits keep rising, people keep waiting, shrinking. Even the jobs most fundamental to the economy are not secure. As of March 2026, factories cut staff for 14 out of the previous 15 months. Warehousing, industrial goods, and food all made major layoffs in late 2025. Fewer people are making the things that businesses sell and customers need. Small and medium enterprises can't protect us from the damage big businesses are doing. Economic worries are stopping them from taking on new staff. Only 56% of small businesses tried to hire anyone in October of 2025. When small businesses don't grow, the economy becomes dominated by a handful of giant companies. When the leaders of those companies cut costs to protect their bonuses and dividends, it is the workers who pay the price. None of this is new, so why is it hitting so hard now? When company leaders take massive payouts for themselves, it throws the economy off balance. Between 1965 and 2018, the income gap between the richest and the poorest households rose by 40%. The wealthiest 1% hold 30% of the nation's wealth. Having made the economy tougher for everyone, business leaders have become more cautious in hiring. A 2024 survey showed that 70% planned on using more internships and similar programs to find staff. This makes the route to employment tougher and slower. It is harder to get hired, but just as easy to get fired. Investors and executives have made sure that workers have fewer legal and political protections than in other rich countries. All of this makes American workers more vulnerable in an unstable economy. When costs rise, one of the first options they turn to is recruiting fewer people. And sooner or later, they have to move on from less hiring to more firing. In February 2026, economists predicted that 60,000 new jobs would be created. Instead, 92,000 were lost. Looking to prove themselves right, the same commentators blamed bad weather and a nursing strike for the unexpected change. But if short-term events can cause such big disruption, then there are bigger problems underneath. If you were working in America right now, you'd face a huge gap between expectations and reality. Workforce confidence is low, especially for millennials and Gen Z. If you're on the lowest rungs of the career ladder, you're more likely to be kicked off when things get tough. The near future looks even worse. The economy is showing signs of stagflation. Prices keep rising, but wages stay flat and jobs are falling. And that is a problem. The usual tools to fight unemployment make inflation worse, while the tools to fight inflation reduce employment. Some economists outside the mainstream argue that the system needs a radical overhaul. We've lived with the promise of infinite growth for so long that neither politicians nor voters are ready to face the alternatives. No government is willing to try untested approaches from the economic left. The American job market is broken. Wage growth has fallen by a third since the early 2020s, and unemployment is growing. Corporate greed and pressure from investors has killed jobs, while inequality has fueled a fragile economy in which people and businesses are vulnerable to any change. If you're feeling nervous about your prospects, then you're right to. This next crisis could be the one